It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
After 3 playthroughs of Persona 5, you'd think I'd be sick of it, but I felt like I needed a proper challenge. That's why I've decided to play this game on Merciless difficulty. That choice may either be suicide or fun, but either way I've decided to record it to show you guys my ups and downs. The only rules I'm establishing so far is I'm not allowed to change the difficulty at any point in the game, and I'm not allowed to use any of the DLC personas provided. Well, without further ado, here is Persona 5 Merciless difficulty. I hope you enjoy. So the first big fight of the playthrough is against this guy. It's only a tutorial fight. I mean, I cut some of the starting bit out, but it's not that difficult. Just a Brave Blade, critical, and he goes down. So now's the part of the game where I get to choose a difficulty. And of course I choose Merciless because I'm not a fucking pussy. I then name my character appropriately.
Bismo Funyuns, Florida State University.
I'm then accosted by a woman and forced to remember everything that's happened over the past few months, so here we go. And then the start of the game's kind of boring, so I'm just going to soak them up as quickly as I can. We go to the cafe to meet Sojiro. I make some questionable answer choices. I then clean up my room. I then get a Vietnam flashback about why I'm in this situation in the first place. Long story short, another bald man was trying to assault a woman, and I beat him up for being such a bald man. Weird red eye app. While asleep I visit the Velvet Room, which is a place that exists between dream and reality. I then meet the biggest Usopp fan ever. The next morning I'm forced to visit the school I'll be attending. I then meet Principal Eggman and my homeroom teacher Miss Kawakami. Joker then simps for probably the most popular girl in the game. The school's resident nonce PE teacher then pulls up to ask him if I've got my McFlurry machine working again. Some blonde kid then spells out what we already know. We get to school, but it's some sort of weird castle. We get captured and thrown in a prison cell. Joker then uses Conqueror's Haki to knock out these few guards in King Kamoshida, and also awakens to his persona. Next is our proper first tutorial fight against 2 jack-o'-lanterns. I mean, it's not really that difficult. All said and only has like one move and it's kind of shit, but yeah, we just do it. Nothing special, it's just a fucking tutorial fight. We then escape the prison cell by abusing the teacher and then locking him back in the cell. Next we have the most fucking annoying character in the game. We meet the spare coochie simp himself, Morgana. I mean, just look at his fucking face, man. Fucking simp. We have a short cutscene where Kawamami worries about us. Morgana then summons his persona Zoro. I mean, Zoro is cool because he's fucking One Piece badass, but you know, there's fucking another tutorial fight. It's just run-of-the-mill tutorial fight. Nothing too easy, nothing too hard. We then see some school kids in the basement and still no sight of Madeline McCann. We decide to just get the fuck out of here. There's a few more fights along the way, but I won't bore you with it. We just escape through like a hole in the castle and then, yeah, end of the day. At the end of the day, the Usopp impersonator tells us we've done a good job and then we just go to sleep next day. We then get the cutscene with the really obvious important characters highlighted with the really over-the-top coloured hair. We then decide to go back into the palace to see if we can get some dirt on the nonce. Just working our way through the palace with Morgana, just looking at new shit and getting more tutorial shit. We then get a scripted fight with 3 bicorns where, you know, they just kill us and then it's just set up so Ryuji can awaken his persona. With Ryuji's persona a captain kid, this fight is basically a joke as bicorn is weak to electric attacks and Ryuji basically has electric attacks, so few electric attacks, bicorns go down, boss isn't that hard after that. We then see Morgana simping in action and oh my god, for fuck's sake. We then escape the palace and then decide to come back another day. We then start the chariot confidant with Ryuji. Then unlock the full social link with Usopp. The nonce PE teacher abuses more kids. Somehow Morgana turned into a cat and is now in our world, and that's fucking weird. I also spent some time chasing that tail, and for the first time ever I finally get a woman to go on a date with me, but it isn't real, so it doesn't count. One of the victims of the nonce PE teacher decides to do what is called a front flip, and this makes us want to defeat the nonce PE teacher once and for all. We decide to go after Kamoshida, but then women just can't stop following me as usual, but we have to send her back to the real world. I do end up getting another persona, which is Pixie, but this isn't an SMT game, so I can't keep her until the end of the game, but it's a persona. Arn finds a way back into the castle, so we have to go and save her. Persona Awakenings for female characters are going to be fun, aren't they? Because she just starts screaming. Anyway, Arn ends up summoning a persona, and we get another party member. Now this next fight is Belphegor, and this should be a relatively easy fight because he is weak to fire, which Arn specialises in, but I do have a few stupid moments and I don't take my proper shots because he does resist the rest of my party members' attacks, so I do end up dying. Attempt number 2 is much easier. Instead of going for all out attacks, I just go for the one more, get extra damage off. Unfortunately Ryuji is weak to the Magaru, but there's nothing we can do and he goes down pretty easily second try. We then decide to add Arn to our party, making us 4 strong. This also makes us start the Lover's Confidant with Arn. And later that night we also start the Magician Confidant with Morgana. The next day we decide to visit the clinic to get some healing items. Now I do end up spending some of the DLC money you get, which is 50,000 yen. But I didn't spend that much, so we're just not going to count it. It's just going to be a little silly thing, I guess. Ignore. I did nothing wrong. The next day, Cow and Mummy wants to have a private one-on-one time with me, but we get interrupted by pervert PE teacher and random bloke in a suit. Before we start Kamoshida's palace properly, I'm introduced to Persona Fusions, and since I already know what I'm doing, I'll just give you the basics of what I'm doing at the moment. They end up forcing me to fuse Agathion via Pixie and Arsene, and Agathion's kind of ass. So wherever I can, I'm just going to get something better. I'm not going to go through every single fight I had in this palace, but I'm just going to go through some of the important ones and some of the important moments, so here we go. I acquire another Pixie through negotiation. I also find the map to the castle, so I can make my way around much easier. We also get another scripted fight, but this is probably the best one because it's like the only chance you can get a jack-o'-lantern. So take this time to recruit it. Spare Coochie Man himself gifts us the grappling hook, so now we can get to big, tall areas. While I've got chance and I've got a safe room, I've gone to the Velvet Room to summon Genbu, so he's going to be our main persona from now on. Now I have the bane of my existence, the book room, and I never do this first time, and second time lucky, I just got it second time, fuck it. Next we learn about Suicide Bomber Shadows, but called Disaster Shadows, so yeah, fuck it. Next up is a fight against Heavenly Punisher, and this is just a battle of attrition, like who could just stay up the longest. He does this thing where he takes a break, charges up, then deals a fuck ton of damage, and luckily I bought some revival beads so I can just revive Morgana, so it's not too difficult as long as you can just stay in the fight for a long amount of time. Physical attacks go a long way in this fight, so physical attacks are your best bet, and yeah, just keep reviving teammates. And eventually he goes down, but it just took way longer than it should have. Morgana gets a hard on for the first will seed, and that's the first of 3 will seeds we need for the palace. And then we have this moment to show off the fucking grappling hook, like, whoa, grapple hook, but you know, it's just for the fucking royal version. If it was a vanilla, you just have to fucking walk up the side of the castle. I grabbed myself a second will seed. Next up's a boss fight against a Torn King of Desire, It's not too difficult. The strategy is just debuff with Genbu, attack with the rest of the party, and hope for the best, really. I mean, we do get a bit lucky. We do get a critical hit from Joker, and this basically ends the fight. Grab myself the third and final ball seed. They then form into this three-headed thing, Crystal Lust, I forgot the name, and this is pretty good to put on Ryuji as it is a healing skill, and Ryuji is mainly a physical fighter, so he doesn't use that much mana. So I give it to Ryuji in the end. But none of this fucking matters because I get slept by Liliths and one shot and I'm fucking pissed. He fucking killed me! Well, second try, both mini bosses go down pretty easily. I mean, it's not that hard to get back to where I was, but it's just annoying, man. Next up, I have to get the 2 keys to get past the swinging blade drawbridge things. First one, just a joke. As soon as I learned he was weak to electrics, the fight was basically over. Just baton pass to Ryuji and 1-0 and he's dead. Ryuji also learns Tarukasha after leveling up, which is a very, very important skill. Second Eligor is just another joke. I mean, just more electric attacks. He just goes down like a sack of potatoes. We then put the keys in Kamoshida's eyes and then we stop the drawbridge. We then locate the treasure and we're ready to do the boss fight. Just before the boss fight, I decide to fuse Slime. This is because of his resistance to physical attacks, and Kamoshida likes to specialise in physical attacks. I also give him the skills Bufu and Rakunda because Rakunda is a buff and that's very good for us. He also learns Tarunda through fusion, which is another very good skill. Just before the boss fight, there's a few things I need to do. One is grab a book. The next is unlock Takemi's Confidant, which helps us get discounts on her items. Next I decide to buy some items from her, which are definitely going to help in the boss fight. Then I go to Iwai to get some new gear for the boss fight. I also decide to do a bit of grinding before the fight. Level up Ryuji so he learns a move Headbutt, which is very useful. Also Arn learns a move Tarunda, and Morgana learns the healing spell Media. We go back to the palace to find out that the treasure is a massive crown, and Morgana levels up the Magician's social rank to rank 2. Now it's time for the boss fight. Like previously stated, Kamoshida likes to focus on physical attacks, that's his main jig. So Joker's basically safe from physical attacks, and the plan is to debuff and buff with Joker, use Ryuji and Morgana as my main damage dealers, and Arn is used as my main healer, so yeah. After a few turns of damage, he decides to eat the forbidden spaghetti, and this recovers his health annoyingly. So now we have to focus fire on the Cum Chalice. Yep, the Cum Chalice. Sometimes he likes to do this thing like Kendra at the mall and take some drank, but it just only buffs his attack, so I'm not too worried about it. With one final lunge from Slime, the Cum Chalice goes down, and now we have to focus fire on other distractions. Kamoshida summons Shadow Mishima to spike the ball to him, and this does basically a lot of the damage in this fight. If you can't sustain the damage from this strike, you're basically fucked. Luckily, I survived with only one casualty and with enough revival during this to revive Ryuji. He then summons Shadow Suzuri, which is basically a joke because she's weak to physical attacks, so a few headbutts, a few lunges and she's down pretty fucking easily. Now it's just time for DPS, but you also get this little option to send a party member to knock the crown off his head. I end up sending someone first time and it does not go well, but second time lucky. I end up not doing enough damage to distract Kamoshida and he finds the simp in the corner, so I end up sending someone else to get the crown off his head. In the end he notices that there's one of us missing and Ryuji's able to get the crown off his head. After this, you've basically won the fight. He literally cannot attack and you just end up beating him down. There we go, first boss done. First try.
Fucking mastery.
Now we have a little cutscene where the castle starts to fall apart. And then it's basically the end of the palace. You can't go back, so make sure you get everything you can. Back to the real world now, and I've got some spare time to do whatever I like in the game, so I can spend these few days working on confidence and leveling up my social stats. Rank up the chariot confidence to level 2, which allows me to do more negotiation shit. I don't really bother. I then start the Hierophant social link with Sojiro, which is going to allow me to brew more coffee and curry. I then buy some more books because knowledge. I then play some baseball to level up my proficiency. Kawakami asks us a question about Brexit. And this is going to be the end of the first video now. If you enjoyed, please let me know and I'll upload the second one hopefully soon. It shouldn't be too difficult. But thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.